Welcome, Pio, on behalf of the DSEP Northern Applied Hub. It's great to have you here. We've had some great initiatives on the DSEP Northern Hub with Richard Simpson and other colleagues running some great podcasts. But I'm wary that we've not done anything at the DSEP Northern Hub for a fair few months now. So I'm going to start off a new initiative, really, sort of five questions in 5 minutes. Might go kind of slightly past the 5 minutes, but again, it's that kind of idea of getting to know other practitioners in the field, learn from some of their experiences, especially if you're an aspiring or newly qualified practitioner. Pio's got some really useful hints and tips for you as well. So I suppose without further ado, Pio, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I would try to do my best in terms of the 5 minutes, but every single time I go over the, I don't know, red flags or something like that, just to kind of like, remind me about the time. Right, my name is Piotr Haluch, actually. I was born in Poland, so no one can pronounce my name properly, so I kind of like didn't stick with the nickname of Pio. I'm kind of like a Brazilian footballer, to be honest. But yeah, I recently qualified as a sports psychologist. I've been involved in an elite branch for a number of years, and had a massive contribution towards my development. And it's good to have an opportunity to share my experiences, and hopefully there's someone out there that's going to find it useful.
Yeah, great, perfect, and thank you for that. So I suppose, yeah, without further ado, really getting into it then, starting with the first question is, I suppose, so how and why did you get into sport and exercise psychology?
Yeah, that's what I said. 5 minutes. Can I provide you a quick recap in that limited time? Because it's been a long journey for me. I never thought that I'm gonna be a sports psychologist. To be perfectly honest, I was always interested in sports psychology, but that was kind of like my initial experience in terms of playing football, and then trying to make a transition to the professional game, and I was always trying to see, okay, how can I incorporate sports psychology into my own performances to make that transition. So I was very interested in terms of the emotions that surround performance, performing under pressure, decision making. So that was always at the forefront of my thinking. At the time, there was not much support available. There was no one really working with me on those aspects of my game, of my performances. That's why I was kind of like encouraged to read a lot around those topics, kind of like educate myself. And I think it was very similar in terms of when I transitioned into coaching after my playing experience. It was pretty much very, very similar. There was very, very limited support available in terms of the sports psychology, in terms of the support that players were receiving. So I think initially I just wanted to kind of develop myself as a coach and learn more to kind of like support the players better in my coaching role. That kind of encouraged me to go to university and enroll onto an undergraduate degree, and then into a master's degree. And as I was doing my master's, I got an opportunity to work at a football academy. I had my A license at the time, and the club was looking for a coach that would be able to be like a performance coach and focusing more on the psychological aspect of the performances. So I was kind of delivering football sessions on the grass with a focus of developing some mental skills and psychological characteristics, psychological aspects. And that was kind of like my first-hand experience, really, to practice and to kind of like apply some of my knowledge, understanding of sports psychology into my work with athletes. And I saw, very good potential and returns in terms of the performances, and that kind of like encouraged me to pursue a career in there. I always wanted to work with people. Always wanting them to develop, to grow, help them achieve their full potential. And I think in that role, then I really learned about the potential of sports psychology in terms of helping players and athletes and people grow. And I think that kind of encouraged me to continue onto my stage 2 and pursue a career in sports psychology.
Yeah, and I've heard recently, maybe a month ago, something like that, you passed your stage 2 Viva, so massive congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Top effort. And just thinking, I suppose, from your experiences from your university study through to working as a coach, through to working as a sport and exercise psychologist as well. I suppose, what key development tips and advice do you have for trainee practitioners?
Yeah, I think, to start with, it's kind of like be aware of the process. I think, I remember going into university and doing my undergraduate degree, no one really knew how long it will take to be a fully, to get qualified as a sports psychologist. It's not just doing your undergraduate, it's not just doing your master's. The journey is quite long. So I think first of all is understanding the process. And I think after the undergraduate, and if someone is going into their masters, I would strongly advise them to plan ahead. I know sometimes it's very, very difficult and might be challenging, but I think it's always good to kind of explore different options, and just see what's the process ahead.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we have to go and actually make a decision. Yes, I want to carry on with my training post my masters. But I think it's just good to kind of have an overview of what lies ahead. Speak to as many people as you can, look at different supervisory options, see who might be available to supervise you at a stage 2 level. Speak with some early career practitioners, maybe someone that got qualified recently, to kind of like understand the process a little bit better. So basically, just get as much information as you can, and I think that'll be very, very beneficial for you to kind of have a full picture, an idea, and understanding of what stage 2 is and what sports psychology, a career in sports psychology is. And I think that will help you inform and kind of like make an informed decision in terms of the career choices. So yeah, I think that's very, very important, and I think that comes and links to choosing a supervisor. I think I would encourage to speak with at least 3, 4, maybe 5 different potential supervisors, and kind of see how they practice, how they approach training, and see if you're going to align, if your philosophy of practice, your goals, objectives will align, and just try to find a good fit for you.
Yeah.
A good supervisor that will work for you, that you will think that, all right, this is the person I would like to work with moving forward. And I think during the training, I think it's very important to engage. I think you have your monthly meetings, and I think that some people might kind of disappear between those meetings, and just turn up to meetings. And I would encourage people to be more active than that, and be in more regular conversations with the supervisor, just to let them know how they're getting on, what's the progress, at the same time what are the challenges. I think most of the supervisors are very, very passionate about the things that they do, and they really, really care, and they want to support people in their development. It's not just the case that we pay them and they supervise us. It's more to it. So I think just come out and engage with your supervisor, and try to learn as much as you can. Follow their advice. Try to go into different organizations, different sports, work with different populations. And I think the biggest advice I would give trainee sports psychologists is to approach organizations with an idea of, can I come and observe your environment? Can I come and see how your environment works, how it functions, what are the nuances of your work, rather than coming and approaching those organizations from the point of view, can I come and deliver some sports psychology sessions with your athletes, or your coaches, or your parents? Because what I found is I sent a lot of cold emails to organizations, and offering services for free, and those organizations were not willing to take on that request. On reflection, I just think probably they didn't understand what sports psychology was. They didn't know how it can fit into their organization and stuff like that. So I think going in and saying, "Oh, can I come and observe your environment?" That's a good way to, to put your foot into the door. And once you're there, then you can kind of like have conversations with the key stakeholders and kind of explore and understand where they're coming from, where is the understanding, what's the perception about sports psychology, and just take it from there. So yeah, but I think plan ahead. I think it's the key. It is a challenging process, so prepare early as much as you can, to be fair.
Definitely, thank you for that. And the third question is, I suppose, linking to your professional training, and a big part of that is the professional philosophy, being able to develop that and kind of, suppose, shape that over a period of time. How would you briefly describe your professional philosophy, and how does this influence the way that you practice?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. So to all trainees out there, be prepared that that's definitely going to be asked in your Viva, and going to be asked in a lot of detail. For me, when it comes to philosophy of practice, it comes down to my personal beliefs and values, and I think they are the most important aspect of my practice, and something that drives my practice. I do believe in individuality. I do believe that every single person is different, and that has a very big impact and influence on my needs analysis and my case formulation. During that process, I really want to spend a lot of time in getting to know the person that I am working with, to understand their personal beliefs, their personal values, to understand their goals and objectives for their career, why they're seeking sports psychology support, what are the challenges and demands that they are facing in the daily lives, just to get to know the person as much as I can. And I think another aspect is athletes' ownership. I think it is a partnership. We form a partnership. It's yes, I would try to use my knowledge, experience to guide and to support as much as I can, but at the same time, the athletes need to be aware that they will need to be actively involved in the consultancy process. So encouraging that amongst the athletes and maybe developing that. I work predominantly with the footballers, and most of the times within their environments, everything is just, ready for them, and sometimes they don't have the capability to reflect, to engage. So I need to kind of like understand that, where they're coming from, and help them develop that aspect. So I think that's the second area which is very important. Another value and belief is flexibility. I think it's not one fits all. I need to be aware that I'm working with different individuals, and just because one intervention with one client, with one individual is successful, that doesn't mean that I can apply that same intervention with other clients. So I think I need to be aware that I need to be adaptable, and I need to be flexible when I'm working with at an organizational level. I need to understand the organization. I need to understand the culture of that organization. I need to understand the people within that organization, and then try to position myself within that context. So I think that's another very, very important when it comes to the way I plan interventions and plan the sessions and plan my time with the clients or organizations. And I think final one is the duty of care. I think we are in the role, and we do what we do because of that duty of care, and we really care for people and for athletes, and we do that because we really want to support people in their development. And I always look, self-reflect on my practice and say, okay, is that relationship working? Is I'm actually having justice to the client, or is it better for me to kind of refer that client to someone else? What is the best for the athletes, caring for the athletes, and ensuring that we do everything that we can for the best of the athletes is very, very important. And And on top of that, we have different approaches and stuff like that. But that's that's something that comes from those key values and beliefs, to be fair.
Yeah, great. Some great insight there, definitely. And then 4 out of 5. Move on to that. So I've heard that you've set up your own consultancy, a new website, I believe. I suppose for practitioners who want to set up their own practice, their own websites, etc., what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I've been asked that question quite a lot, to be fair, and I'm very, very reluctant to give any advice. I think, the reason behind that is, I think, again, individuality. Everyone is very different, and what I do now, my practice, my business, it works for me. And it comes from my experiences. It comes from my qualifications. It's based on my skills, knowledge, and understanding of certain aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a danger of giving advice to someone, something that works for me, that it doesn't necessarily mean that gonna work for other people. And I think there's a danger of sometimes we just taken on advice and we go away and we try to do certain things because it works for that person, so it should work for me. And then after a period of time we kind of like come to realization that, oh, actually no, it doesn't work for me. So I think that's why I'm very reluctant to kind of answer your question. What I would say is, reflecting on my journey for the last 3 years, I engage in a very detailed self-reflection, reflective process. I'm in a unique position in terms of my qualifications. I have an A license. I could go into coaching and pursue a career in coaching. I'm qualified for psychologist. I might kind of go and try to work for different organizations and governing bodies to kind of support athletes within those settings. 2 months, maybe 3 months away from completing my PhD. I have good teaching experience, teaching qualifications. I could go into academia as well and pursue a career over there. But I think, in the last 2 or 3 years, I kind of like reflected in terms of what do I want, for myself? What do I want for my career? What success would look like for myself? What would give me the biggest sense of achievement? What would give me the biggest sense of fulfillment within the things that I do? As a life work balance in there, somewhere in between as well. And for me, the answer was always right. I think if I'm gonna start my consultancy business, this is where I'm gonna be the happiest as a professional, as a person, and this is where I'll be able to use all of my skills, my knowledge, experience to the best of my ability, and support as many people as I can. So I think the advice I would give to people is, it's kind of engage in that same kind of reflective process and understand, why, they want to do what they want to do. If it's, opening and starting their own consultancy process, then okay, why? Is it because there's nothing else available at the moment, so I'm gonna go and pursue my own kind of like adventure in opening my own consultancy, or is there's a bigger meaning behind that? And I think once we are able to answer that question, and we're gonna say, right, my own my own consultancy, my own practice is something that I really want to do, then I think the rest is just the rest just falls into places, because we understand ourselves and we know what we want to achieve, and we know our goals and objectives, and then the journey becomes much easier. It definitely was for me. So I think that's the advice that I would give.
Cheers, Peter. Yeah, no, I think it's good to have that individualized kind of slant to things, really. Whatever you want to do, making sure you understand why you want to do it and how it kind of, I suppose, aligns with your wider sort of philosophy and values as well. Nice.
Yeah.
So last question, you kind of touched on it already, but I suppose just maybe building on that further, just so what are your plans for the future, sports psychology wise?
Yeah, that's an interesting question as well. And kind of like, yeah, it's very, very recent in my memory in terms of, the Viver. I think one of the questions that has been asked is, how is my work contributing towards sport and exercise psychology, which was, a very, very interesting question, to be fair, and made me kind of reflect a lot as well. And I think that's something that is very, very important. After my Viva, I kind of asked myself that question: yeah, what is my contribution? What is my contribution to the discipline? But at the same time, what is my contribution to the society? What is my contribution to the general population and stuff like that? So I think that's something that is very, very important for me. That's something that I would like to address moving forward. Had an opportunity to be involved in professional football for many, many years. Initially as a player, then moving into a coaching role, and now as a sports psychologist. And I think I had an opportunity to see firsthand the benefits of sports psychology support in terms of athletes and coaches' performances and well-being, which was very, very positive and encouraging. But at the same time, I kind of saw the other side of it, and a lot of negativity around sports psychology, kind of the resistance and hesitation towards sports psychology support. And I think it's not for me to kind of criticize here anyone, because that's not my position here. But I think there's still a lot of people out there that kind of use different titles to kind of advertise sports psychology support. They call them the mental performance gurus or whatever, and they promise unbelievable results in a very short period of time. And I think that might be a problem. I think at the same time, the sports psychologists, we need to get better. We need to get more transparent. We need to get more open. We need to be better at demonstrating our value and the impact that we can have on performance and well-being, to kind of provide some tangible and objective evidence of our work. But I think, overall, there's still that misperception of what sports psychology is, and that kind of reluctance. And from my experiences, that comes from athletes, coaches, even parents, negative past experiences associated with sports psychology. I think that a lot of the things in terms of the mental gurus or anything like that is being brushed under the carpet or being put under the same umbrella of this is sports psychology. I never forget a conversation I had with a professional player, which was like, no, sports psychology is not for me. I engaged with it. It didn't work for me. I had someone to come to my house. I paid £750. They gave me some strategies. I didn't really know what it was about. Didn't work. Wasn't helpful. So that's why I'm not interested in sports psychology now. I don't think it's very good. So I think, answering your question, moving forward, this is something that I would like to address. I think, I really want to develop myself and get better at what I'm doing, get more knowledgeable, get, more experience, and then try to go out there and change those perceptions, demonstrate what is sports psychology, what is the value of being able to call yourself a sports psychologist, what's the difference between sports psychologist and mental performance coach or mental guru or whatever you want to call them, and kind of help the athletes understand that we spend a lot of time in education. I spent 10 years trying to get my own qualifications, and I still not even near of knowing anything, everything. There's still so much learning ahead of me. So I think that is my kind of main motivation in order for me to drive the discipline forward, to produce more objective outcomes and demonstrate the impact of the interventions that I have with the athletes, and just try to work with as many people as I can, because that kind of support is needed. athletes need that kind of a support, and sometimes they're just turning it down because of those negative experiences or misperceptions. So I want to address that and just to work with as many people as I can and help them in their careers, help them grow, help them develop. So yeah.
And thanks, Peter. And that brings us to the end of the 5 questions. Thank you very much for engaging them today. It's been some really good contributions there and some reflections back on your training and your experiences, as well as some sort of future directions and things you're thinking about going forward as well. Hope you've enjoyed watching this, guys. Hope it's been useful for you as well. It'd be really interesting to hear any kind of comments, thoughts, feelings around what you've watched today. And please feel free to suggest any other kind of burning questions that you've got going forward for our next guest as well, who's currently undecided, but we will be announcing soon. So thank you for that, and bye for now. Cheers.
Cheers, thank you. See ya.